It's wonderful that we're here together. There's so few women of color scholars who are actually doing some feminist work. So I don't know if you wanted to kind of share some of the work that you're doing that's very important to the wider discourse of women's studies or feminist studies.
Well, for me as a Muslim woman, I've just finished co-editing a book on the representation of Muslim women and how Muslim women are representing themselves.
When is that coming out?
It came out actually in April through Rutledge.
Oh, okay.
So it's called Muslim
Why
Women.
don't you give us a title so we can all go read the book?
So it's Muslim Women, Transnational Feminism, and the Ethics of Pedagogy. Contested Imaginaries in Post 9/11 Cultural Practice. It's a very long title, but it's looking at how, really bringing an anti-colonial lens to the way Muslim women have been represented and the way Muslim women are reclaiming representation and voice and agency through the arts in particular and different forms of cultural production. So we also have interviews with women, Muslim women who are cultural producers. So for example, Saharullah, who started the hijabi monologues, which was a take on the vagina monologues. And, another woman who is Zarqa Nawaz, who created the TV show in Canada, Little Mosque on the Prairie, and now has a best-selling book. And we also have articles and chapters by women who are writing about women who do spoken word poetry, or also Orientalist stereotypes that still exist in literature, cinema, popular culture, and looking at how, as educators committed to social justice, we can do anti-colonial readings of those texts.
Wow, that's amazing. So are these all Canadian writers?
No, not all Canadian.
Okay,
But there are some, who are a couple who are American. Some of the women we interviewed are also from the States, but there is a lot of Canadian women as well.
So just to go back a little bit, what was the impetus for this? It's a great book. It's an exciting book. I hope everybody goes out and reads them, and students will be going and getting the books. But what made you want to do this book?
Well, I think it had to be done in a sense that, we were getting frustrated in simply doing critiques of gendered Orientalism and looking at how it's ubiquitous, whether we look at, what are the books available in chapters, or what do you call it here, Indigo, or all of these bookstores that are, exposés about Muslim women's lives that aren't written by Muslim women, usually, right? But become Hollywood blockbusters and really miseducate the public about Muslim women's lives. So we felt it was important not just to do the post-colonial critique, but to look at what an anti-colonial praxis could be like from the perspective of education. And because these
that's
texts,
amazing.
well, because these texts are ubiquitous, people read them all the time. This is where they get their ideas about Muslim women. We wanted to see how educators could engage those texts in the classroom in a way that deconstructs those texts and exposes them, for the kind of work that they're doing in creating stereotypes and Islamophobia.
Okay, that's wonderful. So now that book is done, is there some other big project that you have right now? I'm sure you do.
We're always working on something.
It's never ended.
Well, there's a number of issues that are going on in Canada right now in terms of public policy. Also, if you're Canadian, we have a new act called the Barbaric Cultural Practices Act, which is, this is the federal government wanting to keep out from our borders people who have been involved in polygamous marriages, forced marriage, or FGM. And while these are things that we can, as feminists, agree are problematic, it becomes a different project when the state is enforcing regulations at the border about who can come in and who cannot come in, and what bodies.
And they're targeting certain
They're
people,
targeting certain people without quite stating it. And how does this become enforced? How do you enforce that? And again, it's being applied to specifically racialized bodies. And of course, the naming of it, the Barbaric Cultural Practices Act, is the actual name.
This is a recent thing that
Yes,
happened up in Canada?
that's right. Yeah.
That's unbelievable
Yes,
for me.
I know.
But under this government, things are happening. So
exactly. So we have to be vigilant about the way women's bodies are being sort of recruited into these projects of securitization, of new forms of Orientalism, and really how state policies are that are very xenophobic and Islamophobic are being built around this ploy to save Muslim women.
So this is another edited volume that you're working
No,
on?
this is simply
your own.
my sort of being attentive to issues in Canada that are coming up around women and public policy and how that ties into empire. I think all of this has a lot to do with nation building and empire. So
that's wonderful. So I can't wait for that book to come out, and I think it's very important that we hear more women of color.
Yeah.
So thank you for all your work.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.